I never imagined a billionaire would return home to find a black maid raising his daughter. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I stood frozen at the doorway, my heart racing like a wild animal caught in a trap. The sun poured through the large glass windows, illuminating the opulent living room filled with expensive furniture, but all I felt was dread. In that shimmering space, a woman I had never seen before was cradling my little girl, her laughter piercing through the silence that had become so familiar. The sight stopped me in my tracks. My daughter, Amelia, was giggling, her bright smile lighting up the room, yet in that moment, I could only feel a profound ache. It gnawed at me, a tightness in my chest. How could this woman, dressed in a simple white dress with a gentle smile, fill my absence? I felt the dizzying weight of love and fear intertwining. My hands trembled as I took a step inside, my palms growing clammy. Amelia was 6. She was just a child, she needed me. But life had twisted in ways I never anticipated. My world had become a whirlwind of business meetings, deals, and negotiations, which had taken me far from the little girl who used to scream my name with joy. The wild-eyed little girl, clutching her stuffed bear, looking for comfort. Now, she was so carefree, and the woman, she seemed so at ease with my daughter. The sharp ring of laughter grated against my heart like nails on a chalkboard. I thought of my mother. She used to say that family is what holds you together, that love can conquer all. But love felt so distant. My family had been uprooted, shattered by my relentless chase for success. The hum of the world beyond my front door faded into the background. All I could hear was the loud thumping of my heart. Who was this woman? The tension in the room thickened. I wanted to understand, to know how she could step into my life so seamlessly. Was she an angel? Or a curse? The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I glanced around the room, taking it all in. The framed pictures on the wall showed a life I had barely been present for. There was an image of Amelia's first birthday, her tiny hands covered in cake. Another of her taking her first steps, and the last one almost felt like a dagger, a family photo, just the two of them smiling together. There was a sudden crack of thunder outside. The sky darkened as if mourning my reality. "Mama!" Amelia cried out, her eyes widening as she saw me. I could feel the collective judgment of the universe pouring in as I took another step closer. The maid looked at me, confusion flickering in her eyes. Did she know the chaos she had thrust upon us? Did she understand the significance of her presence, the way she had filled the empty spaces in my child's life? My throat tightened as I searched for words, but nothing came. Only silence. Sometimes silence could be louder than screams. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The storm outside raged as if echoing the tempest within me. The air was thick, charged with a tension I had never felt before. It was more than just jealousy or fear, it was a stark realization that I had drifted too far from my own life, my own family. Amelia's innocent cry cut through my thoughts, pulling me back into the moment. "Mama!" she exclaimed again, her small arms stretching out toward me. I wanted to run to her, to scoop her into my arms and shower her with kisses, but my feet felt like they were glued to the floor. The maid was still holding her, cradling my daughter as if she were a delicate treasure. I might as well have been a ghost haunting the edges of their joy. "Amelia," I finally managed to croak, my voice thick with unshed tears. I stepped forward, but the maid, whose name I didn't even know, still held my daughter close. Her expression shifted from surprise to something softer, maybe even sympathetic, as if she sensed my turmoil. "It's okay, sweetie," she said calmly, lowering Amelia gently to the floor. Your mama's here. With that, she gave my daughter a gentle push, urging her toward me. Amelia raced into my arms, and in that moment, the world around me faded. The warmth of her small body against mine brought a flood of tears I had long repressed. Mama! She squealed, her laughter ringing brightly despite the rain battering against the windows. I squeezed her tightly, as if my embrace could shield her from the chaos that was about to unfold. My eyes flickered toward the maid, searching for some sign of what this meant. She stood there, her posture relaxed but her eyes cautious, observing our reunion. I'm sorry for the surprise, she said softly, breaking the silence. I didn't mean to overstep. Amelia and I were just playing. She needed someone while you were away. Where have you been? My voice came out stronger than I felt, an edge of accusation threading through my words. Amelia wriggled in my arms, looking up at me with those innocent eyes, her face a mix of confusion and contentment. I've been working, I hurried to explain, swallowing hard. I thought I was providing for you. My gaze fell back on the maid, searching for a possibility of understanding. What's your name, Maria? She replied with a gentle smile, though I couldn't quite return it. And it's okay. Every child deserves attention, love, and laughter. I'm here to help. My heart twisted painfully at the thought. Help? Could I even bear to admit that I needed help? The weight of motherhood was suffocating, and yet I had shut my eyes to the real, pressing needs of my child while I chased after my own fleeting ambitions. Amelia deserves the best, I murmured, half to myself. And I cut myself off but couldn't finish the thought. I had failed her, hadn't I? As the rain continued to pour, my daughter's laughter pulsed through me, wrapping itself around my heart, echoing the innocence I wished to protect. Can we play with the dress-up clothes, Mama? She asked, her voice bright, the innocence shining through her request. Of course, sweetheart. Let's do it. I forced a smile, trying to overcome the turmoil within me as I led her toward her toy chest. Yet, as we played, the laughter filled the room, but it felt like strings being pulled tighter around my chest, a reminder that this was not enough. I cast a glance back at Maria. Her presence was both a comfort and a threat. Each smile shared between her and Amelia drove deeper the seed of anxiety. I couldn't shake off the gnawing feeling that I was losing my daughter. Maria, how long have you been here? I asked, unable to dulcet my nerves any longer. Almost 6 months, she said simply, her eyes steady on mine. My heart sank. 6 months? That was half a year I had missed, precious moments I couldn't reclaim. Amelia plopped down on the floor, entranced by her toys. A moment of silence fell between me and Maria, heavy with unspoken words and unresolved questions. A sudden burst of thunder echoed through the house, and in that moment, the door swung open, the wind howling through the room. A tall figure stepped in, soaked from head to toe, shaking off the rain like a dog. My heart skipped a beat. It couldn't be. James? Maria exclaimed, her voice laden with disbelief. I felt the world around me tilt dangerously, the ground beneath my feet threatening to fall away. He stood there, a flash of confusion on his face before it quickly transformed into a hard mask of recognition and accusation. What the hell is going on here? The air between us crackled, heavy with unresolved pasts and unspoken truths. James stood in the doorway, droplets of rain cascading from his hair, his expression a volatile mix of emotions. His presence felt like a snare tightening around my heart, evoking memories I had tried so hard to bury. James, I managed, my voice barely above a whisper as I instinctively stepped back, as if distancing myself would somehow shield me from the weight of his gaze. Amelia, oblivious to the storm brewing above her, looked up at her father with wide, innocent eyes, clinging to her toy as though it would anchor her to her childish wonder. What are you doing here? James' voice was steely, his eyes locking with mine, demanding answers, as if we were two opposing forces, neither willing to yield. The room felt impossibly small, suffocating under the weight of his presence. My heart raced, a rhythmic reminder of the countless nights I had spent them dreaming of this moment, the clash of our worlds colliding once again. Maria, caught in the crossfire of our tension, shifted nervously but didn't speak. I could sense her discomfort, her understanding of the history that rippled beneath the surface. I felt the unrelenting pressure in my chest as I glanced between the two people who meant so much to me and yet felt galaxies apart. "Allow me to explain," Maria finally interjected, her gentle voice slicing through the thick atmosphere between us. "I've been taking care of Amelia." While she hesitated, glancing at me for approval, "while I've been working," I finished for her, forcing myself to hold James' gaze. "Trying to make a life for us, James. I didn't think you'd be back so soon." "Right. Back to find someone else raising my daughter without my permission." His words cut into me like shards of glass, painful and unforgiving. "So, this is who you've handed her over to?" His eyes weren't accusatory as much as they were experiencing a decaying sense of betrayal. No. I protested, my voice rising, laced with desperation. "I didn't hand her over. I needed help." The admission hung in the air, as fragile as a spider's web. "I thought you weren't coming back. You left me, James. You left us." His eyebrows furrowed with disbelief, the hurt and anger morphing into something deeper, something I hadn't seen in him before. "I was trying to give you space, to figure out what you wanted." "By disappearing?" I shot back, pain knotting in my stomach. "That's not giving me space, that's abandoning us." Tears stung at the corners of my eyes, uninvited and fierce, a reminder of all that had been lost. "That I didn't abandon you," he said, and for the first time, I could hear the tremor in his voice. "I thought I was doing the right thing, believing you could pursue your dreams without my constantly being there. Like I wanted a life built on absence." Amelia glued herself to the floor, clutching her toy in confusion, her tiny brows drawn together as she sensed the rising tension. "Why are you yelling, Mama?" she asked, her voice a soft blowing feather in the storm of our anger. "Amelia, sweetie," I said, kneeling down to her eye level, the world blurred by tears. "Everything is okay. We're just having an adult conversation. Can you go play for a moment?" She looked between the two of us, uncertainty flooding her expression, but eventually shuffled away, the toys forgotten for the moment as she withdrew into the corner of the room. The moment was fleeting but heavy with implication, a glimpse into her innocence shattering beneath the weight of our conflict. The silence hung again as my heart raced, desperate and scared. Maria watched us with her calm demeanor, as if she were the eyes to a storm, ready to step in should the turbulence grow unbearable, and I appreciated her quiet strength. "Look," James said finally, a pained weariness settling into the lines of his face. "I never intended for you to feel abandoned. I wanted you to flourish, to find fulfillment." "The cost was too high," I replied, the words slipping out raw and jagged. "And the irony is, in trying to help me, you left me vulnerable." He ran a hand through his damp hair, the motion a mix of frustration and longing. "And what am I supposed to do now? Pretend I didn't see someone else getting close to my daughter? To you? I don't know," I yelled, frustration bubbling to the surface. "Do you think I wanted this? Do you think it's easy to see someone else playing a role I thought I was supposed to fill?" James stepped closer, almost invading my space, but there was vulnerability behind his eyes that pulled at something deep within me. "Then let me back in. Let me share this responsibility." I opened my mouth to protest again, to voice all the fears that had been swirling within me. But before I could, the door swung open violently once more, and the chilling wind sent a cacophony of sound scattering around the room. The figure silhouetted against the doorway was a man I hadn't seen in years, yet a name sprang vividly to my mind. "Nathan." "Not so fast, James," Nathan drawled, stepping inside with an air of smug confidence. "I think you have some explaining to do before you start claiming your daughter back." The atmosphere shifted once again, tension transforming into an unexpected whirlwind. I turned to find James' jaw clenched, his frustration now laced with a trace of apprehension. "Who's this?" James asked coolly, sliding into a defensive stance. My heart raced as I sensed another storm brewing, a complexity layered atop our already fragile relationship. I glanced at Amelia, still playing in silence, and knew her world was destined to shift irrevocably once again. In that moment, my heart felt both heavy with betrayal and inexplicably hopeful. A swirl of emotions left me on the precipice of an uncharted territory, while the edges of my past, present, and future collided violently before me, waiting for someone to reach out and stitch them together once more. The room seemed to shrink, the weight of Nathan's presence pushing against the air like a physical force. Every pulse of silence cradled an undercurrent of potential disaster, casting shadows that danced across the walls, reflecting years of entangled decisions and unhealed wounds. Nathan, I breathed out, the name barely escaping my lips as a mixture of surprise and dread collapsed into one. My mind raced, sifting through memories of a time when he had once simply been a childhood friend, someone I could trust, someone whose laughter filled the bright spaces of my past. Now, he stood framed in annoyance and authority, wearing impatience like a tailored suit that I didn't expect to find the two of you here, Nathan continued, his eyes darting between me and James. Or that you'd have taken it upon yourself to raise Amelia. The way he said, raise, cut through me, heavy with implications I hadn't fully grasped until now. James' hands balled into fists at his sides, and his defenses cranked higher, an armor forged in the fires of jealousy and uncertainty. Who the hell do you think you are, Nathan? This isn't your business. Oh, but it is, he shot back, a sly smirk almost mocking each word. You think you can just swoop in like a knight in shining armor? It doesn't work that way. Nathan stepped further into the room, brushing past James with an unconcerned flourish. You've been absent long enough, and I've been here, taking care of things. Regret coupled with fury raged within me. Nathan had always known how to play the strings perfectly, to ensnare every emotion until I felt exposed and vulnerable. You don't get to decide what I deserve. I pleaded, forcing my vision to remain steady even as cracks began splintering through my facade. Deserve? He laughed, but it was a hollow sound that echoed painfully against the walls. You deserve all this drama? A man who left you and his child all right. James cut in, his voice uncharacteristically steady, as if he had regained solid ground beneath his feet. You don't get to play the moral high ground here, Nathan. You think because you've been close that you somehow have a claim? A softness shifted in my heart, seeing James stand tall, not just for himself but for me. Something flickered then, a homey warmth brightening a room drenched in tension. Close? Nathan echoed, his face rigid. Let's not act like you sprang back into Amelia's life just out of the goodness of your heart. It looks selfish from where I'm standing. Before I could respond, Amelia ambled over quietly, her little footsteps padding softly against the floor. She stood beside me, her presence a steady anchor amid the turbulent storm we were creating. Who are you? She asked Nathan, her small voice illuminating the burdening dark with innocence. I felt my heart constrict as Nathan looked down at her, surprise washing across his face. Just someone who knows your mommy well, he replied smoothly, the condescension barely masked under his facade. But the word sounded so wrong standing against the purity that radiated from her. I used to play with her when she was younger. Didn't we, Olivia? Do you like play? Amelia continued, her curiosity about this man momentarily cutting through the tension like sunlight through clouds. Of course, Nathan grinned, though it quickly faded as a discerning look crossed James' face. Yes, Amelia, James interjected, kneeling to her level, his eyes twinkling with warmth. But you should know that some games can get very complicated. Not all playmates are good ones. The implication behind his words hung there, a lesson that twisted painfully through my own memories. Yes, I had been naive before, and no matter how much time had passed, the scars lingered, a whisper of my own vulnerability, and just when I thought the atmosphere could hold no more, a distant phone rang from my bag, loud and jarring like an alarm clock shattering the dawn. It was an unknown number, a faint sense of foreboding washing over me as I pulled it from the depths of my purse. As I answered, a voice on the other end, smooth and entrenching, began revealing something I hoped I had never needed to hear. "Hello, is this Olivia?" "Yes," I breathed, my heart racing as a bracing chill crept deeper into my bones. "Who's this?" "I'm calling on behalf of a legal matter regarding the custody of Amelia." The words swept through the room like a gale, ensnaring me in a tempest of disbelief. I glanced at James, whose expression morphed from anger to sheer shock, while Nathan smirked, satisfied that he held the strings of our family in his hands. "I need you to come in first thing tomorrow morning," the voice continued, my pulse pounding a relentless beat in my ears. "We have important decisions to discuss." I hung up without replying. Silence enveloped me, thick and suffocating. Everything fractured, the ground beneath my feet seemingly giving way as I grasped my own reality unraveling again. The tension that bound our confrontation felt infinitesimal next to the overwhelming dread taking shape. Suddenly, what had been a reunion brimming with possibility shifted into a battleground. A spark of hope flitted just out of reach, leaving me ensnared in anxiety. "Olivia?" James' voice called me back, his hand resting on my shoulder. "What just happened? Who was that?" Tears welled anew in my eyes, threatening to spill as I faced the man I once loved, a swirl of conflicting feelings storming within me. "It's about custody, they're calling us in tomorrow." And as those words slid from my lips, I felt the tenuous string we'd been balancing fray further, caught between the past's ever-looming shadow and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. I braced myself against the weight of my own fears, knowing that tomorrow could potentially change everything. All we had fought so hard to reconnect would hang in the balance. The air hung heavy with implications, almost too dense to breathe in. My stomach churned, twisting like a fragile ribbon tearing against tumultuous winds. The idyllic tapestry of our little family, woven with care in recent months and stitched together in moments of laughter and warmth, now threatened to unravel in the face of stark reality. I could feel Nathan's gaze boring into me, his triumph a palpable force. He reveled in my despair. "What a twist, huh?" he offered, the self-satisfaction evident in his voice, his eyes dancing with malice. "It must be nice to have everything you wanted right within your grasp, only to see it slip away." Just like that, James' expression darkened, resembling a thundercloud gathering overhead. "You don't get to enjoy this, Nathan. You've abandoned them and now think you can just waltz back in whenever you please." "I'm not abandoning anyone," he shot back, a hint of indignation breaking through the veneer of his smugness. "I'm just exercising my rights. That I have a voice in this situation. Doesn't that count for something?" Amelia, glued to my side, squeezed my hand tighter. I could feel her little fingers trembling, a reflection of my own turmoil. Even in her innocence, she must sense the rising tide of disaster threatening to engulf us. "Mommy, is everything okay?" she asked, her eyes wide, searching for assurance against the storm brewing around us. I forced a smile, though it felt like a fragile mask. "Yes, sweetheart. Everything is fine." But in my heart, I felt anything but fine. The weight of responsibility pressed harshly against my chest, every beat of my heart a reminder of what I had to lose if Nathan regained control over Amelia's life. "Tomorrow, we can go get ice cream, okay?" James said, kneeling down to her eye level, his voice softening. "But first, we need to figure this out. Can I choose chocolate?" Amelia asked, her small voice cutting through the thick tension for the briefest moment of levity. I nodded, grateful for her resilience, a light shining amidst the encroaching shadows. "Of course you can, love." "Chocolate it is, then." James laughed lightly, but the effort seemed forced, as if he were trying to anchor us against a tsunami of uncertainty. As Nathan stood watching, visibly seething, I sensed his presence growing less substantial, more like a specter that thrived in chaos. I had to take a stand. This was my moment to reclaim my power. "You may have the legal right to question our lives, Nathan," I said, summoning every shred of courage left within me. "But you will never have the right to disrupt what we've built here." His expression shifted, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Perhaps he didn't anticipate my resilience. You really think you're strong enough to face this on your own? He countered, an attempt to sow doubt into my heart. Olivia is not alone, James affirmed, standing firmly by my side, his presence a protective shield. We built this life together, and he'll fight for it too. Sweet, naive James, Nathan sneered, the bitterness thinning the air. You think that love can conquer everything? I've seen better relationships drown in courts and compromise. Maybe your experience, Nathan, has taught you that. My voice trembled, raw with emotion. But my life isn't dictated by your shortcomings. I may not have wealth or privilege, but I have her. And I will fight, tooth and nail, for every chance to keep Amelia safe. Before Nathan could muster a response, the phone's insistent ringing sliced through the air once again. I stared at the unknown number, dread coiling deep in my gut. Without thinking, I answered, my fingers trembling against the receiver. Olivia? The voice on the line was unfamiliar, but it sparked recognition, a thread of tension laced with something unknown. You don't know me, but I have information regarding Amelia's care. It's crucial that we speak. My heart raced again, pounding furiously as realization washed over me that this might be the lifeline I desperately needed, or yet another layer of complexity threatening to pull me under. I glanced at James, who became aware of the distress. Shifting over my features, concern knitting his brow, Nathan's smirk faltered, and I could see him calculating, trying to piece together what such a call could entail. Who is this? I demanded, my voice steadier now. What do you know about our situation? I can meet you tomorrow before your appointment, the voice replied, urgency wrapped around each word. There are details regarding your custody fight, information about your past that may be weaponized against you. The weight of those words collided against me like a freight train, the enormity of the impending storm threatening to swallow me whole. I heard Nathan's breath hitch, a spark of alarm flickering in his eyes. Don't speak to her, he shouted, reaching for the phone, but I stepped back, a protective instinct illuminating my every nerve. If you're serious about Amelia being in danger of being taken away, you should take all information to heart, Nathan, I replied, my tone cutting through the tension. I won't let you hijack this. I refuse to let anyone do that again. As I hung up, I met James' gaze, a silent understanding passing between us. We had to prepare for tomorrow. This unpredictable twist had just raised the stakes higher than either of us anticipated, and yet, as I felt the tremors of fear coursing through me, I also felt a spark of hope flicker in the dark recesses of my heart, the possibility that I was not entirely alone in this fight. Standing at the crossroads of tomorrow, uncertainty consumed me like fog, thickening with each breath I took. The cliff we stood upon loomed terrifyingly close. Tomorrow would reveal not only the path for Amelia's future but also unearth truths I may not be ready to face. As I absorbed everything weighing on my heart, I had no idea what awaited me. Would it be salvation, destruction, or perhaps another betrayal? The morning arrived with a weight that sank deep into my bones, the anxiety of the impending meeting coiling like a tight spring within me. I scarcely slept, each tick of the clock echoing in the silence of the house, pushing the dawn further away. James was still asleep beside me, his soft breaths a gentle reminder that despite the chaos, there was still comfort to be found in our shared space. As if sensing my inner turmoil, Amelia wandered into our room, her tiny silhouette framed by the slanting light of the dawn. Mommy? She whispered, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Is it ice cream day? I smiled down at her, forcing cheer despite the knots in my stomach. Not quite yet, sweetheart. Today we have something special to take care of first. Amelia frowned slightly, her innocence unable to decipher the weight of the unspoken truth hanging over us. Is it about Nathan? The name slipped from her lips as if it were a fragile secret meant to be buried. Yes, I admitted softly, reaching out to tuck a stray hair behind her ear. But you don't have to worry, okay? We'll figure it out together, she nodded, trusting and brave, and I felt a pang of sorrow that she had to carry the burdens of our lives so early. As I rose to prepare breakfast, I couldn't shake off the feeling that Nathan was only the beginning of my troubles. By the time we made our way to the cafe where the mysterious caller suggested we meet, the sun had climbed higher, casting a harsh light on the crowded streets and irony, as if the world outside existed in stark contrast to my turmoil. James held Amelia's hand tightly as we navigated the crowd, his purpose and resolve radiating warmth against the chill creeping into my heart. When we arrived at the cafe, I scanned the room, searching for the stranger whose voice ignited both fear and reckless hope. I felt exposed, the bright lights amplifying my uncertainty. With each moment that passed, my anxiety sharpened, urging me to flee before the truth could emerge. As if sensing my hesitance, James placed a hand on my shoulder, grounding me. Whatever happens, we'll face it together, he reassured me, though I could see the tautness in his frame, the tension of impending confrontation reflected in his eyes. Before I could respond, the door swung open, and a figure stepped inside, a woman with dark, wild curls and piercing green eyes. She scanned the room, landing directly on me. "Olivia? You're here." Her voice held a strange mix of urgency and compassion, and it unsettled me. "Yes, that's me." I motioned to James and Amelia nearby, still holding tightly to each other. "This is my partner, James, and our daughter, Amelia. I'm Clara," the woman said, immediately kneeling to Amelia's level, a delicate smile spreading across her face. "I won't take long, I promise." "You're doing such an amazing job taking care of her." Amelia peered at Clara, curiosity replacing the earlier fear. "Are you a doctor? Are you going to help us?" Clara's gaze softened further. "You could say that, sweetheart. I'm here to share some information that might help your mommy. But first, I need you both to understand something important." She glanced at me, her eyes glimmering with empathy. "This isn't about scaring you, Olivia. It's about preparing you for what's coming." A lump formed in my throat, apprehension bubbling to the surface as I listened intently. "What do you mean?" "Amelia's case. Nathan won't stop until he's secured his place in her life. He's got the law on his side, and he may have found allies who'll exploit your past." Clara leaned closer, the weight of her words suffocating. "You have to be ready to fight, to show how strong you are. I've seen families torn apart in these situations. What do you know about my past?" My voice barely emerged, anxiety wrapping around my chest, a vice that tightened with each syllable. "There are things that can be manipulated against you. Events you've tried to bury. I believe you're stronger than he thinks you are, but it'll take everything you have to protect her." Her words cut through me, exposing the rawest parts of my history I thought I had left behind. I could sense the suffocating specter of risk looming just outside the fragile bubble I thought I had created for Amelia. James placed a reassuring hand on my back as a silence enveloped us, the storm of emotions conflicting in their intensity. I could see Nathan's shadow stretching longer by the second, his ambitions narrowly eclipsing our happiness. "Clara, what specific information do you have?" I pressed on, desperation leaking into my tone. She shifted uncomfortably, her gaze darting toward the entrance as if fearing someone might overhear. "I don't have the details right this moment. I promise I'll meet with you again soon to explain everything." "Soon?" My heart sank at the uncertainty shrieking beneath that simple word. "I don't know if we have time. Nathan is relentless, that I know," she said gently. "But I promise, I'll do everything I can to help you, Olivia. Keep your head held high. Even in moments that feel daunting, know that there are unexpected people rooting for you like me." The hope in her words was a feeble light against the encroaching darkness, but as I looked at James and Amelia, I felt a flicker of determination. If I had to walk through fire to keep them safe, then that was exactly what I would do. Suddenly, the cafe door opened again with a loud creak, and I turned instinctively, my breath catching as Nathan's familiar figure stepped inside. His eyes locked onto mine, a triumphant smile spreading across his face as if he had orchestrated this very moment. "I see you've gathered your little family for support," he said mockingly, scanning each of us with scorn. "But you'll need more than just kind words to win this fight." The tension in the air shifted, thicker than before, as I felt the chill of dread creep back into my veins. I had not only to confront my past but also brace for the battle that was now undeniably upon us, and in that moment, with Nathan's menacing glare cutting through our fragile peace, I realized I had only just stepped into the depths of a much darker struggle. Tomorrow would not just be a battle for Amelia's future, it was now a fight against all the ghosts that threatened to consume me, and revealing my strength may very well cost me everything I held dear. The air in the cafe crackled with tension, the fleeting warmth of Clara's reassurance melting away as Nathan advanced, confident and unyielding. My heart raced, a drumbeat of fear and anger clashing within me. I felt small, vulnerable, the walls of my own making closing in as Nathan approached. How charming, he sneered, arrogance dripping from his words as he took deliberate steps toward us. A family united in the face of impending doom. Truly, Olivia, I never expected you to gather such a support network. James instinctively stepped in front of Amelia, a protective barrier against Nathan's cold gaze. My instinct screamed that I needed to shield my daughter from his malevolence, but the warmth of Clara's earlier kindness had awakened a spark of defiance in me. I straightened my spine, forcing my voice to remain steady despite the upheaval within. What do you want, Nathan? His smile widened, a predator reveling in the prey's discomfort. Let's just say, I've come to remind you of the choices you've made, choices that might just come back to haunt you. He stepped closer, his presence suffocating as he leaned slightly so only I could hear. Your past isn't buried as deep as you think. And I will make sure it sees the light of day, unless you decide to cooperate. That I felt the blood drain from my face, the familiar tendrils of my former life creeping into my mind uninvited. The very things I had meticulously tucked away like ghosts could now emerge, ready to wreak havoc not only upon me but also on Amelia. James clenched his fists at his sides, visibly trembling with unspent fury. I could see the struggle in his eyes, the protective husband and father warring with the man who simply wanted to keep his family safe. I knew he wanted to retaliate, to protect us with his body if necessary, but I also knew that any aggressive move would only fuel Nathan's desire for dominance. Nathan, keep your threats to yourself, I said, my tone sharper, a thin veneer of bravery sliding over the surface of my panic. You're delusional if you think this intimidation will halt my resolve. You'll not take Amelia from me. He chuckled softly, the sound dripping with disdain. Ah, Olivia. Such spirit. But spirit won't save you from the cracks in your foundation. Can you really protect her from the truth? From the people who might decide that a maid is unfit for the daughter of the wealthy? You think you're ready for this fight, but the law doesn't see you as the strong, loving mother you believe yourself to be. The insinuation roiled within me, each word a stab to my candid expectations of parenthood. I had tried my best, and yet here it was. My past hung like an anchor around my neck, deadly and heavy, threatening to pull me down. I glanced at Clara, her expression now etched with concern. We will see about that, she said firmly, taking one small step forward to further position herself between Nathan and my family. You may have the law on your side, but sometimes all it takes is one honest person to shine a light on the truth. Nathan's eyes narrowed, the warmth of his confidence challenged by Clara's unexpected fortitude. You're playing a dangerous game, Clara. I'd watch your back. This is much bigger than you think. That I could feel the tension in the air shift again, a fight against an unseen current thrumming around us. The stillness didn't last long, though. I could sense that we were caught in an ominous dance with Nathan, each step echoing with threats looming just below the surface. Clara took a deep breath, keeping her gaze unwavering as she faced Nathan. Don't underestimate what I'm willing to do for Olivia and Amelia. You're not invincible, and I'm sure there are things in your past that you'd prefer to stay buried as well. An ephemeral hesitation flickered across Nathan's face, and for a moment, I dared to hope that he had hit a nerve. Perhaps there was more to Nathan's past than he cared to admit, secrets that might collapse his carefully built facade. Nathan's expression hardened again, yet I sensed a hint of uncertainty. Whatever you think you know, Clara, you're mistaken. Olivia has everything to fear from me. That mismanagement of her life, her history, and the people she once associated with. I will not hesitate to exploit the truth if it means getting what I want. My body felt frozen, and snared in fear and despair. The notions of my past, decisions made in haste, blank spaces in time that were now haunting me like phantoms, churned uncomfortably within. I felt Amelia's small hand grasp onto my leg, her little fingers trembling, and heard her quiet whimper, a sound that ignited an inferno of desperation in me. Suddenly, without a moment of hesitation, I crouched beside Amelia, meeting her curious, confrontational gaze. "Sweetheart, everything is okay. You're safe with us. We're strong, and we will fight for our family no matter what." James knelt down too, giving Amelia's shoulder a gentle squeeze. "We are all in this together, love. You hear me?" Nathan scoffed but retreated slightly, enough to let the brief serenity of our united front take root. Yet the air still buzzed with tension, a veil that could tear with a single misplaced word or action. The moment held the weight of 1,000 unsaid things. Just then, the cafe door swung open again, but this time it was not another patron. It revealed a shadowy figure beyond the threshold, an older man with familiar features, dressed in an expensive suit, and a look of cold determination set on his face. "Nathan," he called out, his voice firm, "it's time we talked about your heavy-handed approach." My heart dropped further. Who was he? Why did he seem familiar? The revelation sliced through the chaotic atmosphere, revealing a thread of connection I had not anticipated. Nathan's face contorted in confusion, followed by burgeoning anger, as he turned to face the man emerging from the shadows. "What are you doing here?" My breath hitched, the weight of a new twist in this already spiraling saga crashing down upon me. I braced myself against the tidal wave of uncertainty that washed over me, wondering what this confrontation would unleash, and how it would shift the precarious balance of everything I thought I knew. The cafe was steeped in a suffocating silence, the kind that thickens the air and stretches time beyond reason. The newly arrived man stood like a boulder against the ebbing tide of Nathan's bravado, and I felt his presence ripple through the room, a jarring shift in the atmosphere. I couldn't shake the feeling that his arrival meant something pivotal was about to unfold. "Nathan," the man repeated, his voice a deep rumble of authority. "You're going too far. This isn't just about you anymore." The palpable contempt on Nathan's face twisted as he squared his shoulders. "What do you know about it, Dad? You haven't been around long enough to understand any of this." My heart raced at the revelation. The man wasn't just a stranger, he was Nathan's father. My mind scrambled, trying to reconcile the world I had been thrust into with the new understanding blaring before me. "Don't speak to me like that," Nathan's father snapped back, narrowing his eyes. "You think your money can solve everything? Wait until your mother finds out about this stunt. She would be deeply disappointed, and trust me, you do not want to invoke her wrath." Confusion flooded me alongside a strange sense of relief that even Nathan had familial ties that could, perhaps, disrupt his sense of omnipotence. "Your mother?" I blurted out. The implication of a woman, powerful enough to sway Nathan's decisions, sparked a flicker of hope within me, yet, Nathan barely acknowledged me. "Why are you even here, Father? This is none of your business. This is my fight," he shouted, teeth gritted and eyes blazing with rage that reached fever pitch. "It is my business when it involves the family legacy," his father retorted, unflinching. "And that girl you've been tormenting," he gestured dismissively at me, "is now a part of that legacy whether you like it or not." Eyes wide, I searched for any fragment of evidence in his words. Did he mean Amelia? The very thought rattled through me like a wintry breeze. Nathan's cold charisma was built to mesmerize, yet now it faltered in the face of this unexpected confrontation. Before I could gather my thoughts into words, Nathan took a bold step forward, his posture shifting from controlled defensiveness to outright aggression. "You think you can waltz in here and dictate my actions? You don't know the half of it. I know more than you think," his father countered, his unwavering gaze reflecting relentless certitude. "The choices you make now could shatter our family's image forever. You have exactly one chance to fix this before it spirals completely out of control." While Nathan's father held steadfast to his singular focus on preserving the family name, an inner tempest surged to the surface of my own mind. Did this man hold the power to sway Nathan's decisions? Did he understand the depths of Nathan's threat? My heart yearned for someone, anyone, to stand against the shadow that loomed over me and Amelia, but also trembled at the realization that dark legacies often had the most insidious consequences. "Please, stay calm," James murmured to me softly, a whisper of reassurance that cut through my swirling thoughts. He moved in closer, his protective energy emanating warmth that seeped into my bones. I felt for that brief moment that we would emerge victorious, that our little family was fortified against the looming storm. Clara, still formidable, stepped back as the focus shifted to Nathan's personal strife. They must both see reason, she stated before lowering her voice a fraction, leaning in toward me. Do you think this could work in our favor? Before I could respond, Nathan exploded, his anger erupting like lava. Work in my favor? You don't know how I've fought for this. I won't let it end because of her. This is bigger than you can imagine. Amelia's fingers tightened around my leg once more, her innocent fear palpable. I forced myself to meet her eyes, searching for reassurance before I left behind the reassuring lie of calm. Amelia, no one can hurt us as long as we stick together, okay? But Nathan had clearly lost his composure. If you want to see the truth exposed so badly, then fine. But don't think for a second there won't be consequences for the shame you've brought on this family. He turned abruptly on his heel, the echo of his footsteps reverberating through the cafe as he stormed out, the door slamming shut behind him. In the silence that followed, Nathan's father exhaled, a deep sigh of resignation that seemed to resonate into the very corners of the space. I'm sorry for the trouble my son has caused you, he said, addressing us with newfound gravity. But you must know there are forces at play that none of us understand fully. I dared a glance at Clara, her brow furrowed in contemplation, but before any words could escape, the door swung open again, light spilling into the room as another figure entered. A woman. Elegant, regal, her presence commanding the attention of everyone in the cafe. Her gaze darted towards me, and then to Nathan's father, confusion flickering momentarily across her face before it hardened into something resolute. What is going on here? She demanded, her voice laced with authority that echoed through the small cafe. A clenched silence followed her entrance, brushing against the tension already woven into the fabric of the moment. I felt exposed, stripped bare beneath her scrutiny, as if my own shadows were being pulled into the light. My chest tightened as I processed the reality settling in. More than I could handle was converging here, chaos growing in momentum around us. I needed to shield Amelia, I needed to protect her. But how could I face this battle when my past lay lurking, ready to tear apart the fragile life I had fought so hard to build? Olivia, Nathan's father began, but the woman raised a hand. No. This is my daughter. Whatever is happening on my watch. A feeling of impending doom washed over me as I caught Amelia glancing between the adults, confusion etching itself deeper onto her face. Would this woman be another warrior against my fears, or a new threat? As the reality of the moment surged, I felt a sinking sensation loom just beneath, hinting that the path from here would twist into unforeseen avenues. And just like that, our fragile fortress teetered on the edge, with a new player revealing the lies I had so carefully concealed. The weight of the moment hung thick in the air, as if the silence itself had congealed into an oppressive cloak around us. Olivia was a force of nature, her presence radiating an unyielding authority that unsettled me. I felt like a moth drawn towards a flame, knowing full well the danger in what awaited. Beneath her cool exterior, I could sense the undercurrents of turmoil. We deserve an explanation, she addressed Nathan's father, her voice steady yet laced with an urgency that sent my heart racing. He hesitated, casting a furtive glance toward me and Amelia before clearing his throat. There's too much at stake here. Secrets that have put my daughter in danger, Olivia interjected, her eyes blazing with indignation. You may call it family legacy, but I call it negligence. This is my child, and I will not let her be a pawn in your games. With every fierce word she spoke, I felt my earlier fear slowly morph into admiration. Could it be that this woman, who carried herself with such ease, had the heart of a lion? My instinct told me that beneath her well-crafted facade, there was a mother whose love would shatter through any wall of pretense. In that fleeting moment, I almost liked her. The tension ratcheted tighter and tighter, suffocating us all, when James suddenly stepped forward, breaking the stalemate. We're all on the same side here, he implored, his tone like a bomb in the overheated atmosphere. We all want to protect Amelia. But we can't possibly do that without understanding what we're up against. At his invitation, I felt the collective energy shift, the room absorbing his words as a drop of hope began to drip into our chaotic reality. Somehow, amidst the swirling chaos, I felt the tiniest tendril of solidarity weaving through the room, but it was fragile, suspended in the air like cobwebs in a haunting hall. Olivia scrutinized him, her gaze softening just enough for me to see the flicker of something akin to hope cross her features. "You're right. We must know what we're dealing with." Nathan's father shifted uncomfortably, the facade of a powerful man cracking a little as he yielded to the tides of our resolve. "Fine. Let's begin with the reason I came here in the first place." He turned back toward me, his eyes a mix of regret and seriousness. "You may think this is all about Nathan acting recklessly. But he's been caught in the crossfire of rumors, things that could unravel everything." "Rumors?" I asked, my voice shaky yet bolstered by the urgency in the air. "What do you mean?" "It's complex," he sighed, glancing again at Olivia. "But to put it simply, there are certain individuals who would use this situation to turn the family against each other, and their sights are set on you." Amelia. At the mention of Amelia's name, my breath caught in my throat. "Why?" I voiced the question that rattled through my mind. "What have I done?" "It's not you they want," Nathan's father clarified, his tone taking on a heavier weight. "It's the potential of your connection to our family legacy, and more terrifyingly, what it can unravel or release. There are truths buried that could rock our world to its core." Amelia stood silently, her small hand clenching mine, her innocence a stark reminder of everything at stake. "But I don't want anything to do with it," she whispered, her voice small as shattered glass, brought forth by the heavy burden we all carried. Without warning, Nathan burst back through the door. His eyes darted around the room, and for one harrowing moment, a sense of dread washed over me, knowing that this was anything but finished. "You think you can just have a meeting without me?" His voice was a thunderous echo, filling the cafe with ominous undertones. "Stay away from her!" Olivia shouted, stepping protectively in front of Amelia, her stance a guardian's fierce love against a growing dark tide. But Nathan's expression was one of layered frustration and defiance as he strode closer, the hushed whispers of our surroundings falling silent. "You're all talking about me, but none of you understand. You are safer with me than you know." He paused, the word swelling with an unexpected weight that sent shivers down my spine. "They want to take everything away and they won't stop until they do." The air thickened again with fear, and as if in response, Amelia's grip on my hand tightened, her little fingers trembling. "What do you mean?" I asked, fighting against the rising tide of panic. "No more games. You're involved now, and there's no turning back." Nathan's voice betrayed the hint of vulnerability slipping through his bravado, and the realization tugged painfully in my chest. The shadows around us deepened, and it became ever more evident that his fight was very real, echoing through the bitter veins of our intertwined fates. As he turned his gaze to me, a tempest swirled in the depths of his stormy eyes, a challenge that stirred something unnameable within me. Would I have the courage to face the depths of despair that awaited us? Gazing at Amelia, I gathered my resolve, nudging past the fear that mingled with uncertainty. In that moment, the question loomed larger than ever: what would I discover about not only Nathan's past but also my own, and how it had silently shaped the situation we now faced? The silence stretched and cracked, and the realization loomed larger. The path back was clouded in fog, but moving forward could mean plunging into the dark unknown which sought to devour us all. My heart raced as Nathan took a step closer, shadows twisting like whispers around him, and I felt the breath of a new storm beginning to unfold. The cafe's heavy stillness, punctuated only by the soft tremors of uncertainty, surrounded us like an oppressive shroud as Nathan's words hung thick in the air. I could feel my heart thumping painfully against my ribcage, the weight of his revelation sinking in like a lead anchor. The warning laced with dire implications sent a chill coursing through me. Everything that was beginning to feel whole again now trembled on the precipice of a catastrophic fall. I glanced at Amelia, her innocent gaze flitting between Nathan and me, a flicker of confusion and fear in her eyes. She was too young to bear this burden, yet here we were, enmeshed in a web spun from painful histories and veiled threats. What do you mean they want to take everything away? I asked, my voice trembling yet firm, desperate to ensnare any sliver of clarity amid the chaos. The truth felt like an impending storm, and I had to know what awaited us. Nathan's expression morphed from brash defiance to one of guarded concern, caught like a deer in headlights between caring for himself and his mother's legacy. You have to understand, he said, the fight dripping from his tone. People in our world thrive on control, they want precedent. They want power. Each word sounded like a frail echo of something larger festering beneath, and my gut twisted painfully, piece by piece revealing the deep connections burrowed into our fates. Your past isn't just yours anymore, it's intertwined with ours, through Amelia, he admitted, his eyes narrowing at me. And it could be used against you in ways you're not prepared for. The shadow of Nathan's father loomed behind him, a silently menacing figure, one rooted in expectation and manipulation. We had only moments before they would motivate the narrative that could sweep away everything I'd built. They could unearth the vulnerabilities of my past to dismantle my present. The very thought sent a pulse of fear spilling into my veins, turning each breath into a laborious task. But I wouldn't cower in the face of these revelations. I couldn't. My daughter depended on me, as did the fragile threads of our family. Enough, I said, summoning the strength buried within, allowing it to break free like sunlight piercing through dark clouds. I stepped forward to confront Nathan. If you want to play your games here, then fine. But know this, I refuse to be a pawn in a battle of ego and power. Amelia is not a bargaining chip. My voice rang steady, fighting against the torrent of fear churning inside. I could have let that fear echo in my words, but instead, I wove determination into every syllable. There's nothing more important to me than my daughter, I continued, grounding myself against the chaos. You may think you have the upper hand, but love is a powerful force, and it can bring down the tallest towers built on coercion. I dared to hold his gaze, grounding myself in the affirmations of my heart, knowing that everything I had endured thus far had prepared me for this moment. James stepped beside me, the warmth of his presence like a protective mantle draping over my shoulders. We will stand united, Nathan, he said, his tone softer but just as firm. You think you can intimidate us and unravel our lives, but you must understand that Olivia has moved mountains to create a life for Amelia, a life where love triumphs over manipulation. And we will fight for that. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Nathan's face, challenged by the pall of our resolve. I felt Amelia's small hand squeezing mine tighter, anchoring me in a way that reminded me why I would stand firm against the tide. This fight wasn't just mine to bear, it was ours. Silence settled in, a long breath held in anticipation before etiquette cracked through the tension like a fragile piece of glass. Nathan's father stepped forward, breaking through the shared torrential silence that had drawn close to suffocation. I suggest we rethink the approach, he muttered, glaring at Nathan with scrutiny. This isn't about beating our way through. We have an opportunity to mediate before this spirals further. Opportunity? Nathan barked, his frustration burning bright. You have no idea how deep the roots of this go. Allowing them to dictate Amelia's life, and more importantly, mine. Enough. Olivia's voice cut through the current, fierce as lightning. We need clarity. Not more name-calling or finger-pointing. This is about protecting her. No one will dictate her legacy or take back what you fought to build. Olivia, Nathan's father began, but she silenced him with a single glance, raw conviction emanating from her very soul. This is family, whether you want to recognize it or not. She asserted, reminding us, and Nathan, what was truly at stake. Blend your fortunes together and there might be something to save. But if we're set on tearing each other apart, Amelia will be left in the ruins of our failures. Realization washed over the room in waves, as if the air shimmered with the truth yet to unfold. It wasn't just about court battles or twisted pasts, it was a call to shift the narrative, to elevate compassion over ambition, healing over hostility. We gathered like embers glowing in the dimmest of light. Even Nathan, caught in a moment that grasped at something deeper. I can't lose control, he murmured, his defenses crumbling. This legacy carries weight, and if you think I stepped forward again, emboldened yet gentle, Then let's reshape that legacy, Nathan. Not one built from fear, but from understanding. We can confront whatever demons slumber in the shadows, together. No child should pay the price for adult failings. I watched the veil lift from Nathan's guarded spirit, followed by a surrender he hadn't expected. For the first time, his stern facade softened, revealing a man caught between his past and his future. Together, he echoed, almost sighing. The idea danced between us, longing to weave itself into existence. But how? I felt the weight of the moment, the walls shifting, breathing life into possibilities. Perhaps this confrontation was a chance for forgiveness, not just for Amelia but for us all. By being honest, everyone here must be willing to unveil the truths we've buried, I said, my heart pounding with the possibility of closure. Let's confront the sources of our fear and build something new. Fight the past, not each other. An unsteady silence blanketed the room, pregnant with unvoiced thoughts acknowledging old ghosts preparing to emerge. And within me stirred a strange sense of hope, an ember igniting brighter amid uncertainty. Perhaps this battle was simply a journey toward reconciliation, a quest to unbind us from the hurt that had shaped our lives. Tears welled in my eyes as I locked gazes with James, drawing strength from him, and felt the assurance flush through my heart, can we embrace our truths? I asked, my voice thick with emotion, and reshape our future. As Nathan stared back, lost in contemplation, I feared he might have fallen too deep into the murky waters swirling around him. Yet, I saw something flicker in his expression, a glimmer of understanding that maybe love was stronger than the legacy he had yoked himself to. The air shimmered with promises unspoken, fragile ground which could still bear the weight of our hopes. "I'll try," Nathan finally said, a wavering request reverberating between us, a bridge spanning the cracks that had threatened to engulf us all. And in that moment of fragile sincerity, the walls around us began to tremble ever so slightly, clearing a path toward a resolution that had once felt impossible. With renewed unity forged in the face of relentless trials, we began a convergencia, clasping of hands in a different journey, one illuminated by truth and heart, channeling toward forgiveness and acceptance. The winds remained unforgiving, but together we could weather the storm, crafting a legacy freed from shadows, instead revealing the beautiful light waiting just beyond. As the cafe doors swung to a close and the world outside wandered unknowing, I took a deep breath, holding Amelia in my arms. Together, we stood on the threshold of transformation, bracing ourselves for the unfolding of a new chapter etched in love, determination, and hope, a legacy built on something truer than blood, stronger than silence, and bolder than our secrets. And as the first rays of dawn broke, I whispered to the universe, unapologetic yet filled with longing, no more shadows. Only light. In that quiet confession, we claimed our triumph as uncertainty loomed and began stitching together the fabric of our very own narrative that would take flight at the dawn of a new beginning.